Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Suzette, and welcome to another episode of Relationship Talk Tuesdays with moi, Suzette. As always, I'm always so grateful for those of you that listen live and also those of you that take advantage of the replay. I am elated. This is a beautiful day in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I actually feel privileged. Just this past Sunday was the anniversary of my mother's homegoing, actually her transition. And I thought I was going to be super duper sad, but to be honest with you, I feel like her legacy is for me to truly live and to make a real contribution in the world. And I actually felt like she was smiling at me and so proud of me for doing what I believe is going to bless other people, to really make a difference in other people's lives. And so today we're going to talk about, are you a love maker or a love faker? Yes. So don't deviate. Don't keep scrolling. This is an episode you really want to hear. Now, if this is your first time meeting me, again, I'm Suzette and I am a life coach and relationship solutionist that helps women over 40 to break the cycle of failed relationships and attract real deal love into their lives. I've been out here for a while, and what I found when I was going through my failed attempts at love and all of that was that the older that I got, the less I saw that really spoke to the truth of what I was dealing with and my experiences and my needs as a more mature woman. And so I guess I had to be the test subject to create what it was that I wished I had. And so because of that, I am a cycle breaker. I am a truth teller, and I am a great love attractor, and I help women to do the very same thing. I see some ups going up. So listen, if you're listening live and you like what I'm saying, yes, send those thumbs up. I love them. And if you really like what I'm saying, give me some love. Let me see some of those little hearts just fluttering up into the screen, right? That just lets me know that what I'm saying is resonating with you. Because here's the thing. If what I'm saying isn't resonating, then what's the point? If it's not relevant, then what's the point, right? But I know I'm not the only person who decided when they got older, listen, the old way of doing love is just not working for me. This falling in love thing is just not working for me. And this whole thing of attraction and having chemistry and connection, I thought that would lead me to my happily ever after, but it did not work. So I had to figure out what was it that I was missing that was continuing to allow a cycle of failed relationships in my life that was affecting my self-esteem, even though I would pull myself back together, get back up, achieve great things, but it still was eating away at my self-esteem. It was eating away at it because every time I had a relationship fail, guess what? It made me stop trusting that I was a reliable person to make the decisions about my love life. I started second guessing myself. I started doubting myself. I started being afraid of love. And that was not going in the right direction, right? And so because I worked at it, and I didn't just work on myself. I worked on the parts of me that kept betraying myself in relationships. I worked on the very, very things that were causing me not to really be able to have the experience of real love and true partnership that I really, really desired. And so it is a passion of mine and a purpose for me to offer to you each week what I wish someone had told me before I thought I was grown enough to know better. Anybody but me that felt like at some point, oh man, when they would tell me stuff about men, no, y'all don't know. Y'all don't know like I know. Hi, Henrietta. Thanks for joining. It's like I felt like I knew better. I felt like what me and this man had, me and this guy had was so special and so unique that when people would tell me things, I just felt like they were just old-fashioned, didn't know what was going on. And so I thought I knew better. And I'm telling you, I got on this cute little yellow top, but I'm telling you, I bear the scars. Fortunately, they are healed and they're continuing to heal. But oh, those lessons were very, very hard. So what's the difference? You know, what's the difference? I had to kind of reconcile what my mom and my dad thought about love and what in my heart I felt like there had to be something more than what they were telling me. I could not believe that men could not be trusted. I could not believe that you couldn't be friends with a man. I could not believe that all men could see in women was what they could get out of women, or that all they could see was a sex object. I just could not believe that that was it. But how many of you know that if you don't heal what's familiar to you, and what was familiar to me was what my mom and my dad thought. But if I didn't heal that, then guess what? My whole life would be like, well, you know what? Maybe they were right. Maybe they were right that men could not be trusted. Maybe they were right that you can't be a friend with a man. Maybe they were right. And I didn't want that. So I had to reconcile it. I had to figure it out. I had to go further than my mom and my dad. Hello, is it Aquila? I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Thank you so much for joining me. And for y'all see me looking at two different places. Facebook, I'm loving you right here. Instagram, I'm loving you right here. And I just appreciate those of you that are jumping on live. Thank you so much. So let's talk about it. Are you a love maker or are you a love faker? Well, let's look at, do you know what love is? Because in order for you to know whether you are a love maker, a love creator, that you generate love, that you exude love, that you embody love, that just by you showing up as love, you attract love, or are you a love faker? So what is love? And in the words of Tina Turner, what's love got to do with it? Right? Is love, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't think, I can't get you off my mind? Is that love? Is love dates and holding hands and wine and roses and poetry and great wonderful soul R&B music that you're swaying to? Is that love? Hi VST 1908. Good to see you. Is this Shanae? Because I keep seeing it. I'm thinking, is this Shanae? If it is Shanae, wave at me. Say something to me. But anyway, thank you so much for joining. But is that love? Is love for you a man that will treat you better? Hi, good to see you. Is love treating a man that will treat you better than the last man? Is that love? Is that your definition of love? Somebody who won't cheat on me, somebody who won't call me a name that is disparaging, somebody who will do what they say they will do. Is that love? Is love for you the doing of a person? Is that how you decide love? What is it for you? Because if you don't understand what love really is, then how do you have a gauge of whether it really is love? I'll be honest with you. I had to really come to grips with the fact that I didn't really know what love really was. I didn't. My parents, though they meant the best that they could, they did the best they could. They really did not model for me what real, romantic, healthy love was. Am I the only person? Susie Q, am I the only person? Right? Am I the only person that while my parents, I love them dearly, while they did the best they could for me, did they model healthy love? For me, they did not. Love in my parents' household was I'm taking care of your physical needs. I'm making sure you have a roof over your head. I'm making sure you have food to eat. I'm making sure that you have clothes to wear. I'm making sure, my mom used to take us to this store in Kinston where I grew up called Dupree's. And Dupree's was a kind of upscale store for children, for you to buy clothes, shoes, that kind of thing. And so my mom would take us to Dupree because she wanted us to have great quality clothes. And she would get us Buster Brown shoes. I hated them. But she got those shoes because she felt like they were well made. And she was loving me. She made sure we had meals. She made sure she trained us girls to know how to take care of ourselves. So for her, she was loving us. I'm a daddy's girl. And as much as I love my dad, adore my dad, my mannerisms, my animated way of doing, the way I sing, the way I express myself, this is all William McKinley Randolph. This is my dad. I mean, on any given Sunday, this is my dad, right? And I was a daddy's girl. I adored my dad. When he was away working, he would go away and work for a week and be home on weekends. That whole week he was gone, my little heart would ache for my dad. And I loved him dearly. But when it came to being a representation of what healthy love was, he wasn't that. Because my dad was a binge drinker. He was a binge drinker. He didn't drink all the time. But I really figured out when I got older that part of the reason he was so easily triggered, he seemed like he was always agitated. And I understand now that it was because even when he wasn't drinking, his body was still craving it. And it made him fatigued and irritable and agitated, and everything bothered him. And being a daddy's girl, I wanted to please my dad. I wanted my dad to approve of me. I wanted my dad to say, "Oh, Nee, baby, that was good." Right? And I realized if I could run fast, like in a 50-yard dash in the 4th grade, and I could win the trophies, I got my dad's approval. I realized that when I could sing, I could play the piano and belt out going up yonder by the Hawkins and get the church to going and dancing in church. And I could direct the choirs and make the choirs sound good. had the approval of my dad. But when my dad hurt my feelings, when my feelings got hurt by my dad, when I would bring my little heart in my hands and at my mom's insistence, go tell my dad how I was feeling and how what he said, the way he said it, hurt my feelings. When I did that, my dad would reject me. Because we grew up in a time where to show feelings, to express feelings, to say, that hurt me, Dad. I hate it when you said it to me. It hurt my feelings, Dad. It hurt me when you didn't do this. It hurt me when you didn't trust me. It hurt me when you said it like this. To do that in our household was considered you acting like a white person. We black people, we don't do that. We don't cry. We don't say when stuff hurt us like that. We don't come and say, Dad, that hurt me. And my father would always scowl. I cannot remember not one time I ever told him how I truly felt about what he did. When I told him that it bothered me that he drank. When I told him that it hurt my feelings the way he said that to me. And over the 18 years that I lived at home, he hurt my feelings a lot. And every time my feelings hurt and I told my mom, she would always insist that I go tell my dad, because she said, your feelings matter. So you need to tell your dad how you feel. But every time I did it, I was met with resistance. I was met with disapproval. He would turn it back on me and make me feel bad. He would tell me, you're going to do what you want to do anyway. He was one of those people that you could never have the last word. My dad was going to always have the last word. And he always looked at me being honest as weakness. And he responded with disdain and a scowl. As long as I was strong, not gonna cry, he approved. But whenever I showed that, hi Barbara, thanks for joining. Wherever I showed any sign of vulnerability, of weakness, my dad rejected me and would never let me forget it. And so though my parents did not want me to fake, they invariably, my father invariably taught me that it was not safe to be a love maker. I grew up to be a love faker. I had to fake being together, fake being strong, fake. I had to fake it till I make it. I could not admit that I was scared. I could not admit that something hurt me. I could not cry in public. I could not tell him, you hurt my feelings. I could not do any of that. Else the man that I adored more than anybody in the world would reject me. He didn't know how. He didn't know. He didn't have the bandwidth to understand that me telling him how I felt was courageous. And so I grew up to be a love faker. And I accepted things from men that I shouldn't have accepted. I tolerated things from men that I never should have tolerated. It was learned behavior. It was something that was taught to me before I was old enough to know differently. But now I am an adult. And if you're listening to me now or will listen to the replay, you are an adult. And I had to get to the place where I had to stop looking for men that would approve of me. That I had to stop looking for my daddy's approval. Right? I had to get to the place where I had to understand, Suzette, the reason you're choosing these kind of men is because you're looking for your father's approval. And guess what? Only your mother could be happy with your father. And you are not your mother. They were from an age, a stage, a generation where she could be that for my dad. But I was different. Me and my sisters were different. And we needed something that my dad would never be able to give. Hi, Elijah. Thanks for joining. I had to get something that my father could not give me. I had to deconstruct that need for my father's validation that was playing over and over and over again in the men that I was attracted to. I had to stop being a love faker. I had to realize, Suzette, you're faking this because you're trying to get your father's approval. You're faking it. And you can't fake it till you make it. You cannot fake it until you can get a man that will love you and approve of you in a way that your father didn't. You can't fake it. You got to be who you are. You got to say what you need to say. You got to stop tolerating, because now you have become to yourself what your father was. You are now. It ain't men. It's not men. It's you. You have become your own critic. You have become the one that's holding you back. You have become the one. Thank you, Elijah. I'm speaking the truth, because I love it when men tell me I'm speaking the truth. I know that I'm saying something right. I know that I'm speaking real. Right? Because I had to learn how to speak male. I had to learn. I had to learn the things about men that my father could not teach me, that my father could not tell me. He didn't have it in him. He didn't know how. So I had to become my own rescue so that I could become a love maker. A love maker, a person that makes things, they create something. When you make something, you put something of yourself in it. You cannot make something and not touch it. You cannot make something and not connect with it in an intimate way. And there's so many of us who are trying to have real deal love. We're praying and asking God to send us real deal love. But we are afraid to extend ourselves. We're afraid to connect. We're afraid to touch it. And we think that if we can fake it long enough, we'll get it. But in order to have real love in your life, you have to make it. How do you make it? How do you touch it? How do you put who you are into it? How do you give it your best? How do you give it love touches that causes you to create something, to create what you want, to make it? Listen, love is not something that you fall into. If that's what you subscribe to, I got to tell you, that didn't work for me. Falling in love did not work for me. Falling in love meant I was losing myself. I was losing control. I had no discipline, nothing in my control. That I didn't know who I was. I'd fall in love so deep, I lost myself. I I was. Falling in love was not good for me. It did not help me. Sure, it was great on the rom-coms. Sure, it was great on Fa La La Lifetime. Sure, it was great on the Hallmark Channel. But it did not work for me, a woman over 40 who had had 2 divorces and kept attracting men who could not love her. It was not working. This falling in love stuff was not working. It was not working. So how do you blend the you that's naturally strong? My dad didn't make me strong. I already came speaking my mind, speaking my opinion, having thoughts and opinions of my own. So he didn't make that. That was already in me. But because of what I didn't get, it created a vulnerability in me. And I had to reconcile the strong Suzette, the one that speaks her mind, with the one that couldn't speak her mind because her dad would reject her. How do you reconcile those two? You learn to become a love maker. Because when you're a love maker, you make room for you. But you can't become a love maker if in your heart of hearts you still blame yourself. You still think you're the problem. Because as long as you think you're the problem, you're going to be a love faker. As long as you think you are the problem, I want y'all to hear me. As long as you think, as long as you've let the Mr. Wrongs in your life convince you that you are the problem, guess what? You will always be a love faker because you'll withhold those things that you think that person, the object of your affection, will not like. My dad conditioned me to be a love faker. And maybe for you it wasn't your dad. Maybe for you it was the last failed relationship, or the last several failed relationships, where all the Mr. Wrongs agreed that you talk too much, that all the Mr. Wrongs agreed that you're too opinionated, that all the Mr. Wrongs agreed that they like your hair better wavy and floating in the wind than natural, which is the way you like it. Maybe the Mr. Wrongs in your life convinced you that you were the problem and turned you into a love faker. But guess what? You can make a new decision. You can make a new decision. And if you need some help with your decision, call me. Call me. I had to figure it all out. I had to figure out how to love my father, but disconnect from the need for his approval. I had to disconnect from this natural energy pulse coming out of me that kept attracting what it was I did not want. I had to figure out how to disconnect. Because they say, energy is neither lost nor destroyed. So I had to take that energy that was attracting men like my father, transform that energy and redirect it towards men who could be the kind of man that would appreciate a woman who was courageous enough to not fake it, who was courageous enough to say, hey, I need something more from you. Hey, when you speak to me that way, I feel disrespected. That I cannot tolerate that. I cannot tolerate that. And that if that man says, well, I'm just like this. I don't mean no harm, but I'm just like this. That I won't say to myself, well, you know what? He's just like that. So now that I know that he's just like that, I can tolerate it. I'll be all right. See, that was me. If you could give me a reason why that kind of meshed with the psychobabble and meshed with the whole spiritual thing that I've been taught at church, to have compassion for people, that if it all got intermingled together in the wrong way, then I would justify the very things that turn me into a love faker. Because listen, when you don't do right by you, I don't care how many other people praise you and say, oh, you are great. Oh, you have a great spirit. Oh my God, I think I could fall in love with a woman like you. No matter how much applause you get, if you have to withhold, if you have to dim your light, if you can't be excited about your accomplishments, if you can't be who you are, if you cannot, on the other side for us high achieving women, if you can't admit that you're afraid, if you cannot admit that you're scared, if you cannot admit that sometimes you don't have it together, if you can't admit that sometimes you feel like an imposter because you're holding up this strong woman thing, you're trying to live with this strong woman thing, and sometimes you just want to just be. Sometimes you just want to cry. Sometimes you just want to not have to hold everything together. Sometimes you just want to say, I'm scared. Sometimes you just want somebody to hold you. Sometimes you want to be able to get it wrong with somebody who can have grace enough to say, but I see you. You're still worth it. That I get to be who I am. When I'm feeling strong, you love me. And when I'm not, when I'm kind of on myself, I messed up. I don't know why. Why do I keep doing this? Sometimes I just don't know if I can do it. That person won't agree with you and that they will see you and say, hey, I got you, babe. I got you. Right? So I'm hoping, and for those of you that are just joining, hey, Michelle, that's my sis. Hey, girl, I just want to encourage you to really hold yourself accountable to yourself, first of all. To make a commitment. I cannot be a love faker, because when I am internalizing the very things that are messing me up. I'm internalizing what somebody else said derogatory to me. Now I've taken their place and I'm doing it to myself. Now I'm not only just a love faker, but now I'm blocking myself from the very love that I keep saying I want so badly. Now I'm becoming the block. And I'm stuck in this no-win situation where I'm darned if I do and darned if I don't. And I'm gridlocked. I want love. I want it. I'm a loving person. I want it. I don't want to die alone. My God, I'm in my 40s and my 50s and my 60s. If I don't get it right now, when am I going to get it right? How do I stop being a love faker and know how to be a love maker in a way that does not make me vulnerable to being hurt? And if that's what you want to know, I invite you to call me. If it's the first time, I do have free consultations. But there are those of you that know I'm going to call it like I see it. Whether you see it or not, that's okay. Because, hey, we can't see our own blind spots, can we? So I'm going to call it like I see it, not to hurt you, but to help you to see what you don't see. Because you are so in the trenches of the cycle, you can't see because you're in it. And it takes somebody who has gotten out of the cycle and is being successful outside of it that can help you to see and to love you enough to be honest with you. And also, if you are available, don't have anything going on, I invite you to the encore of my Love on Your Terms Masterclass. It's in November. And it's strategically there. And I'll tell you why it's there. Because usually November is when we really start getting into the holiday season. And did you know that most of the suicides happen around the holidays? Did you know that? A lot of the breakups happen right before the holidays. The holidays, when I was single, was the loneliest time. It was holidays and Valentine's Day. And the holidays can be very difficult because you're looking at the Hallmark Channel and Lifetime. Yes, Michelle, and loneliness sets in. It does. Right around the holidays. Around the holidays is when you feel the loneliest. You're looking at other people and they're booed up and they got things going on and you love your family. You love them. But you still have that little ache in your heart that you wish you were exchanging gifts with somebody special, somebody you were romantically involved in, and people are very lonely during that time. You miss the people that are no longer in your life. It's a very lonely time. And it's also a time that for me was a time that if an ex called me, even if I knew he wasn't the right person, I was vulnerable. And so I would sometimes slip into situationships, friends with benefits, when I was at my most vulnerable and at my most lonely time. Sometimes it was when you met somebody and you thought, oh man, this life could be going somewhere. Hi, Dad. Thank you for joining me. It was during those that were the loneliest times that would make me most vulnerable. And so I said, let me do this Love on Your Terms Masterclass. So that for those of you who want to redefine and rediscover what makes you truly enough in your relationships on your own terms, not on daddy's terms, not on Mr. Wrong's terms, not on mama's terms, but yours, on your own terms, and your worthiness to have real deal love in your life. If I'm talking to you, then I invite you to register. It's a free masterclass. It's 5 days, 5 lessons where I really, just like I'm doing now, I pour into you the insights that I had to learn to stop trying to find men to do what my dad could not do for me. And what I had to learn to stop attracting Mr. Wrongs. What I had to learn to break that cycle. Break that cycle of one failure after another failure after another failure after another failure. Falling for the banana peel in the tailpipe every single time. How I had to break that cycle so that I could attract real deal love. Y'all, let me tell you, I will not tell you that how you're living your life now is not good. If you're enjoying your life like it is now, that's wonderful. But what if that life could be even better? Right? What if what you were experiencing by yourself wasn't something you had to give up to have a man in your life? What if you still could be you and not have to dumb yourself down? What if you could have the same joy with somebody that it took you fighting through all these different things just to have it by yourself, just to get over what the last man did. And now you're in a good place. But what if God's plans for you are greater? What if there really is somebody out there that's waiting for the real you to show up? Not the you behind the mask. Not the you that's trying to make the mask pretty. Not that, but the real you. The real you. The powerfully feminine you. The courageously vulnerable you. What if there's somebody out there that's waiting for you to step into the light and stop trying to fake being strong all the time, and stop trying to fake being happy all the time, and stop trying to fake that you don't need a man? Stop trying to fake this stuff and start really telling the truth. What if there really is somebody out there that's waiting to love you in your totality, not you that you got to keep right on trying to rinse and repeat, and you can never have a bad day, and you can never say what you really feel, and you can never cry, and you can never... What about the real you? What if there's somebody out there? How much better would your life be to have somebody that loves you? How much more healed from the past would you be if there was a man in your life who did not exploit you, who did not require you to be different, who really inspired you to want to be the best you could be? What if it's possible? And see, I'm looking from that side. So when people try to convince me, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I've been there too. But on this side, where I get to wake up every day, hear me, every day I wake up, I know that I am deeply and richly loved as myself. It lifts you to a place that you didn't even know that you could be lifted to. It heals areas in you that you didn't even know needed healing. It opens space in your creativity, in your living, in your being that you didn't even know was possible. I live with that every day, y'all. I didn't know after 2 divorces and all the other men I was dating were unavailable. And to find that in my 50s, when the statistics say I'm too old. There was a statistic in Newsweek magazine. It was in 1986, but it's still on Google. It's still on Google. And I've even heard it cited on certain rom-coms. There was a statistic, and it got retracted, but the damage was done, that said it was easier, it was more likely that a woman be killed by a terrorist than for a woman over 40 to get married, to find love and get married. That it was more likely. There was a statistic out there like that. But I'm so glad love doesn't read statistics. I'm so glad love does not read statistics. It does not care about statistics. It does not care about how many people have hurt you. It does not care about this is the way I planned my life out. This is the way it's going to be. Love doesn't care. Love responds to an open heart and a willing spirit. Love heals. So the more healed you get, the more love is attracted to you. The more clear you get, the more love is attracted to you. The more you become the love that you're looking for, love is attracted to you. The more you learn about men, those things that your daddy didn't teach and your mama didn't know, love is attracted to you. The more clear you are, the more confident you are. The more confident you are, the happier you are. The happier you are, the more open you are. The more willing you are. What kind of love could be attracted to you if you weren't afraid? If you weren't afraid of it? What kind of love could be attracted to you if you weren't afraid? If your thinking was not so messed up. If you stop thinking. And so if I'm talking to you, go on and register. Register for Love on Your Terms Masterclass. Because I'm going to tell you what other folk won't tell you. I'm going to tell you as a woman that's now 62. The older you get, the older I get, I can't fake. That's the beauty of getting older. The faking part, it becomes too hard to fake. But if you've become more ornery, more shut off, more seeked in a conviction that holds you hostage, then yeah, you need somebody like me that knows how it works, that has been you, have had some of the same issues, same fears, same blind spots, same things, that can say, listen, sis, let me tell you, this is how you do it. This is how. It was not luck. It was not luck. And it wasn't just praying. It wasn't just praying and letting God pick him. Because God is not an enabler. Why would God pick for you somebody that you're too lazy to figure out how to pick for yourself? Why would God do that? He doesn't want you to be an enabler. He's not an enabler. He wants you to know what your power is. You are beautifully and wonderfully made. He wants you to take advantage of the resources available to you so that you know for yourself how to recognize a good man. That you know for yourself what makes you enough. You know for yourself how to become a love maker, how to create it, how to generate it, how to exude it. You know, and it's not a tip, it's not a trick, it's not a strategy. It's you showing up free, loving, confident, clear, not afraid. You're not afraid you're going to betray yourself. You're not afraid you're going to be fooled because you've done the work. You've done it. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to get off up here because I've been up here long enough. There's a story. It's called The Drowning Man. I don't know how many of you have heard this story. But there's this story about this man who there was a flood in his area, right? And he prayed. They were evacuating people, whatever. And he prayed and he said, Lord, I want you to please save me. Lord, I want you to save me, right? A man came with a boat and said, sir, we come to get you because the water is really rising. It's not good for you to be here. He said, no, that's all right. I prayed and God's going to save me. God's going to help me. I asked God to do it. God's going to do it. The man goes away. Well, the water continues to rise. And so now the man is up on his roof, right? A helicopter comes and says, sir, we've come to get you. We've come to rescue you. And he says, no, that's all right. I trust God. I pray to God. God is going to rescue me. God is going to do this. I'm waiting on God because I prayed. I'm waiting on God to do it. And I believe God's going to do it. They leave. The man drowns. And he stands before God and he says, Lord, I trusted you. I prayed. I prayed for you to come and save me. I prayed for you. Why didn't you come? I believed need you, Lord. Why did you let me drown? God said to him, I sent a boat and I sent a helicopter. Don't let that be your story. Don't let that be your story. That you're praying, God save me. God heal me. Lord, send me a good man. Lord, help me. Don't let that be your story. Where you prayed and you asked God, and he sent you the help. But because the help did not look the way you thought it would look, you rejected it. Don't let that be you. Again, my name is Suzette Biernon, and this is Relationship Talk Tuesdays. I'm your life coach. I'm your relationship solutionist, and I'm committed to helping you to break the cycle of failed relationships and attract real deal love into your lives. So if you're listening live, thank you. If you're listening to the replay, thank you. Put comments in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear what resonated. I'd love to hear from you. But even more importantly, you have a chance to connect with me for a free consultation, and or you have an opportunity to come to my Love on Your Terms Masterclass. I hope you will take advantage of it. Okay? So until next time, you're 100% worthy. You're 100% worth it. You're 100% enough. Bye now.